evening, Northern Colorado. This is Kilo Delta Zero, Tango Yankee Uniform, Joe here in Loveland. I'm Net Control for this evening Tech Net, sponsored by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Net. Looks like it's 6 o'clock and time to take check-ins. Anybody want to check in for the Tech Net, please call now.
This is E0YDN, Kilo Bravo Zero Yankee Delta November. Eric, mobile, Pinewood Reservoir.
Got you, Eric. Anybody else?
Good evening, Joe. WB0MH Mike in Loveland. What did you think of that MFJ email I sent you?
Not happy about it, but I knew about it, I guess. And we can talk about it later on in the net, but thanks for sending that. Anyone else want to check in? Please call.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Foxtrot Bravo Oscar, no traffic.
Bob, anyone else?
Kilo.
Whiskey Lima, Tim in Windsor.
Kim Pierce, no traffic.
I got Tim, but who was somebody else that doubled with him?
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Golf Quebec India, Doc and Pierce, no traffic.
I thought it was you, Doc. Sorry about that. Thank you. Anyone else?
KE0ME.
KE0ME. Thank you. Anyone else?
This is N0EMP, Greg with Debbie, K0DBE, no traffic.
Good evening, Greg. Good evening, Debbie. Thanks so much for checking in. Anyone else?
KG6OBC, Justin, mobile, Fort Collins.
Sounds really good for a mobile, Justin. Thanks. Anyone else?
This is AE00 Alpha Echo 0 Charlie Foxtrot Ben Fort Collins.
Charlie Foxtrot. Thanks, Ben. Anyone else?
Hi.
K3SAD, George and Windsor, no traffic.
Alpha Zulu Alpha, Ron in Fort Collins.
Well, I got Ron and I got George. Good evening, gentlemen. Anyone else? This is Kilo Delta Zero, Tango Yankee Uniform, Joe here in Loveland. At the Control for this evening's Tech Net, sponsored by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Net. Anybody want to check in? Please call. Well, I know everybody's sitting outside and enjoying this great weather. Boy, howdy, I wish it was me. No, I'd rather be with you guys. Anybody got any topics or anything they'd like to discuss tonight, please call.
YDN. K0YDN, I have one thing. Well, I brought this up on the Nature Radio Net yesterday, but it's more a practical thing, so I'm going to bring it up here as well. I was gone to the eclipse weekend, looking at the eclipse, and you had the big wind event here, and my broadcast television antenna got twisted quite a ways out of true, about 30 degrees. I'm going to go up there and aim it as soon as the weather behaves enough that I can climb on the roof without being blown off. And I was going to take a tiny SA up with me and tune to a station's broadcast, real broadcast frequency, not its virtual channel, of course, but its real broadcast frequency. And I looked in Signal ID Wiki for what an ATSC broadcast signal looks like, and it basically looks like what you might expect a digital signal to look like, a bunch of noise that's 6 megahertz wide. And I'm just wondering if anybody's tried this and is the signal strong enough that you can get a good bearing on it. K0YDN, back to this.
N0EMP.
You go to the floor, Greg. Go ahead.
Yeah. Almost all of our channels are still the original ATSC format. They were going to come out with an ATSC2, and they finally threw up their hands in frustration and went right to ATCS3, which does not have the feature I'm going to describe, but I think there's only one channel out of Denver that's ATCS3. So if you look at an original ATCS, or digital TV signal for the U.S., over on the left edge, if you're looking at the spectrum, there's a big narrow CW spike that is a pilot signal, and it is approximately 309.44 kilohertz above the bottom edge of the channel. So if you look at actual true channel 9, which I think comes off Lookout Mountain, it'd be 186.30944 megahertz. And it sticks way up from everything else. The nickname for that whole wave, that whole thing, is Bart's Head. Bart Simpson from The Simpsons has a spike in his hair that stands up on the left side, just like this waveform or spectrum. So that's what you can peak on. M0 EMP.
YDN.
YDN, go.
Okay, I will do that. It might be worth looking in the Signal ID wiki to see if they got anything wrong. It's a very handy resource if you don't know it's there. It's built around hobbyists who chase exotic signals and capture spectrum and waterfall of them and put them into the wiki so people can say what something is once they've identified it. KB0YDN back there.
Anyone else care to comment?
80HI.
HI, go ahead.
Yeah, remember that there's a few translator stations as well. So we have stuff on Lookout, but there's also some, I believe, west of Fort Collins. So you've got those transmitters too.
I don't think I've tried pointing the antenna that way, but once I have it loose, I can steer it that way to have a look.
I think Fox 31 has a translator there, and a few others do. I ran into that when I was pointing my antenna and found that some stations came out of Lookout, but some I got a much stronger signal out of the translators.
So noted. Thank you. KB0YDN back to net.
Any other comments? I guess I really didn't realize that Fox 31 was up there. I knew they had a helicopter relay station up there. Buckhorn, I believe. I could be wrong, but maybe the source too. But I didn't realize they were transmitting out of there. Huh, interesting. Thanks so much for that. Anybody else have anything? Please call. Well, Mike, Mr. Hickerson, would you care to give the announcement that maybe someone is not hurt?
Okay, thank you, Joe, and good evening to the Met, WB0MH here. A notice came out on YouTube channel that MFJ is exiting the amateur radio equipment. I'm not sure what all that is going to entail, but I suspect that anything with the MFJ tag on it is going to disappear, so we will no longer have anything available from MFJ. I don't know about any repairs on any of their equipment, like the Ameritron amplifiers and so on, but that's the latest on MFJ. With that, thank you, Joe. Acting at WB0MH.
Anybody care to comment on this?
Yeah.
YDN, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I think I saw it around 200 times on the internet about this. The basic story is Martin F. Chu is retiring. He's 80 years old, and he wants to spend his remaining years with his family. So MFJ production shut down last week. They're just selling stock as far as I understand it right now. And they do have a last day, but the website is up. The website continues to show as if nothing has changed. And you can still buy stuff from the 8 or so brands that are under the MFJ Starkville, Mississippi label, like High Gain and so on. KB0YDN back to net.
KB0TYU with the Tech Net tonight. There was one thing that I was a little curious about, because I read that article 2 or 3 times just to make sure. I do have a couple Ameritron amps. Unfortunately, they've been fixed a couple times, so hopefully they'll be done with. But they mentioned something about they were going to sell everything out. that they had in stock, and then that would be it. But there was something about overseas stuff would continue. Am I missing the boat there? Did somebody read that? Did I read it wrong?
AZA.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I read it the same way you did, Joe, and it left me with more questions than answers. I read it that they were going to continue manufacturing their Chinese manufactured products, which I don't know which ones those are versus the ones made in Mississippi. But it was all kind of nebulous, so I think your guess is as good as mine.
Well, I do know the amplifiers are made in Mississippi because I actually ordered one directly from that guy down there. They only had one person that was doing the sale, building, and also the repairs down there. He had a helper, but he quit. That's what he told me. This is about a year ago. But I do know the amplifiers were made in the States. Where the parts came from is probably anybody's guess. But I don't know about, I've got a high gain antenna out here, a 680. That's part of the MFJ. Ameritron is part of the MFJ, and a group of other companies that I'm sure I don't remember. But I'm not a big MFJ fan, but I've got some stuff.
Well, Dan,
you're back up, sir.
I bought a field strength meter because they were the only ones that existed in HRO when I went there, and I guess they do have an antenna analyzer, one of the first ones. It hasn't changed much since then. But most of the rest of the stuff you could probably find elsewhere. Give you zero idea.
I know there's a lot of people that swear by their antenna analyzer, and I can't think of the number. I would say 390, but I don't think that's right. But I know a lot of people that think that that's really, really good. I'm not saying it's not. I've never had one. So how many people out there are going to miss MFJ?
I will a little bit. K0 me.
Okay. Why, Dick?
Well, I have a manual antenna tuner that is probably pushing 40 years old that works just fine. It basically no electronics except the meter, and it does what it needs to do.
Well, Ron, help me with this. Didn't they say they were going to still fix stuff? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the way I read it is they were going to do repairs as long as the warranty periods were in effect. So I think that would be a year. I don't know if the amplifiers are longer than a year. So yeah, that's how I read it. I was also just going to throw out, I got the M-stick equivalent or an MFJ equivalent of a M-stick 6-meter antenna just last week. And it's actually a nice little antenna. It was 1.2 to 1 right out of the box.
Well, it's kind of bad, you see somebody like that go out of business, and then, of course, Bob Howe passed away here not very long ago. Although the company is still in existence, it's just Bob's not around. I don't know. I guess everybody's getting older. I guess we have to kind of, that's the way of life, I guess. Anybody else have any comments or questions for tonight's net?
N0 EMP.
Go right ahead there, Mr. Greg.
Yeah, we've had the privilege of having a ionosound, a vertical ionosound, right in our own backyard for quite a number of years, I think, over in Boulder. I've heard some rumors about they didn't want to run it anymore, or they didn't want to publish data anymore publicly. One or the other, I wasn't quite sure what all. Also, Terry Bullitt, who's been running that thing, has retired from the university. I just have noticed over the last couple of weeks, it seems that the last update, or the last ionogram that's posted from that ionosound is from April 16th. It would be a shame if that is no longer available. I don't know if anyone has any information about that in N0 EMP.
Why, Deanna? I think he said when he retired that he was just going to leave it in motion, and he was just expecting it to run for a while until the wheels fell off. And that may be what has happened to his collector of Ionoson data.
Isn't that a government project?
He personally wrote a short web page that collected Ionoson data from a whole bunch of publicly facing Ionosons. And there was no internal support for it whatsoever, no interest in maintaining it past his retirement.
Oh, so he just did it from the kindness of his heart. Yeah, that's Terry. Great guy. That's too bad.
Whiskey Niner Bravo Papa Zulu.
Go ahead, sir, with your comments or questions.
This is Don here. Hey, are any of you active with HamSci? I know Terry Bullitt is still pretty active with HamSci, and they've been collecting a lot of Ionoson data. I don't know if that's referring, if they're using the particular instrument that you're talking about. Maybe somebody could clarify that. Over.
I'm personally not familiar with it, but does anybody else know much about it?
W0LEB.
Hey, Dave, go right ahead.
Yeah, if the repeater doesn't act up. NOAA has made a decision that they are no longer going to be involved in the ionosons or the ionograms. Terry has pointed out that that's against the law, but NOAA has made a decision that the general public does not have a right to that information. I don't know if they're still going to be operating, but most of those in the U.S. that are listed on Merian or others are not going to be available, if even operational, to the public. That goes against the charter of NOAA, as Terry has pointed out. But yeah, they're going to go away. And in my comment, you might, if you really want the data, while it won't be as detailed as you can get accessing the ionograms directly, Australia has a nice plot, worldwide plot, and you can zero in on what the FOF2 is at any given time. They gather information from everywhere in the world, and I don't know if they're going to lose access to the U.S.-supported ionograms or not. But, yes, they're all going away to public access. W0LEB.
Thanks for that, Dave. I do appreciate that. Kind of bad news, but I guess it's news. Shoot, that figures. I thought we were paying these guys a salary. I guess that's not the case anymore, huh?
Well, your tax money supports NOAA like a lot of other government agencies, and they can make their own decisions. It does not go to the voters, and they decided the public should not have access to the data. So it's going away. I have typically accessed the Boulder ionogram multiple times a day, and I already miss it. Once Terry quote, broke into the facility and put it back on the air. That was before the last time it went down. But I don't know how long he's going to have access to that or whether he's going to keep it up or not. But Terry was responsible for the Boulder Ionoson ionogram. Yeah, not good news, right along with MFJ closing their doors, but yeah. While I don't pulse the ionosphere, I do use WWV to figure out what's going on locally up there, 100, 200, 300 kilometers up. But I don't put it out there, just for me. W0LED.
Well, there you go, Eric. Any comments?
Nope. KB0YDM, back to Matt. You keep catching me with a mouthful of food.
I'm sorry about that. Well, if you see Terry, Dave, tell him not to end up in jail. He's too nice a guy to do that.
Yep, I'd agree with that. And you can look at the Australian site. It's a nice map, but it certainly does not give you the detail that accessing the Boulder anagram directly will give you. But it's better than nothing. W0LEV.
This is Katie02 with the Tech Net tonight. Any other comments or questions or anything for the net, please call. Well, I guess I've got something. As you may or may not know, we're doing a general class out at the Larimer County EOC. And these are brand new generals. They're technicians now, but they're asking questions that I have had asked 1,000 times before and never had a good answer for it. And that's, if I have an HOA, what do I do? Has anybody tried anything special with an HOA that we don't know about yet? Please call.
EMP.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
If they allow a flag, there are vertical antennas that are disguised as a flagpole, or actually are a flagpole, with ground-mounted radials that you can slightly bury underground. So for the HOAs that allow a flag, that's an option. Very thin wire is hard to see. I think ARRL has a book out called Stealth Antennas, and they address just this topic. But those are, I'm trying to look at my bookshelf here. I don't know if I have the copy of that one or not. But those are two approaches, a real thin wire antenna or a flagpole. Loading up your gutters is another option, although it's better to have the antenna away from the house. But people have used their aluminum gutters as an antenna and connected a tuner to it. And ARRL Antenna Handbook or their book on stealth antennas would address these issues. Also, a tuned loop antenna, a tuned loop transmitting antenna can be very effective even if it's low to the ground. So it could be, if you had a 6-foot-high fence, it could be below that. There's tons of stuff on YouTube as well about hidden antennas, hidden HF antennas for HOAs, so there's plenty of info out there and plenty of options, as long as you've got some room. I mean, if you've got a 50 by 50 foot lot and it's all covered by a great big house and there's no yard and you're completely surrounded by neighbors, then your options are limited. And 0 EMP.
Has anybody tried the gutter idea? I know we've got a presentation on the website about this that I can't remember who did that, but anyway, I wonder how you tune that. Anybody got any ideas?
AZA.
You got the floor, Ron.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I live in an HOA, and the HOA here, their basic rule is if you can't see it from the street, we don't care. So for my VHF, UHF antenna, I've got it on about an 18-foot mast so that the top of it you just can't see from the street and the neighbors don't care. I do have I'm using my gutter for HF, and it works pretty well. I've talked to, as far east as Nova Scotia, as far west as California. Haven't gotten international, but honestly haven't spent a lot of time with it. My biggest problem is if I put it above about 50 watts, I set off the smoke detectors in the house when I transmit. But I'm sure that could be resolved. I just need to spend more time with it. So, yeah, it works.
Okay, go.
I'm not sure who that is, but go ahead.
KE0ME.
Oh, go ahead, Dick.
One other option, here again, we're always talking about compromised antennas. You can put antennas inside the attic, which is basically what I'm doing right now, and they work surprisingly good. Of course, we are at the peak of the solar cycle also, so I'm sure that helps. But, yeah, that can be another option.
Any other comments or questions?
SAD.
I think it was SAD. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just internet searching for psychological warfare for dummies. There's some interesting ideas there, too, if you're having trouble with your HOA. Back to that.
Well, I know the political fight that's out there. Everybody says, well, ARL's going to do this, or this group's going to do that. And if they do, that's fine, and I think that that's great. But we got to live with what we see now, and that's what we have to tell these people. And I don't have any answers. I mean, I'm fortunate and don't have one, and I'm in town, but just an old neighborhood, so I don't have any problems with this. But it's really sad because, I mean, I got on tonight figuring I couldn't get anybody, and I picked up England and Italy and talked to them for a while. So Europe is hot right now, for me at least. But I've got pretty good antennas. I don't have the farm that James has got, but I've got enough to keep me happy. Any other comments or questions?
LCM with a question.
Go right ahead with your question, sir.
Zero LCM, I came in late, and not about the antennas, but the question you were talking about, the general class. I was curious, had the club ever considered doing the extra class for somebody who has a general, but it's been years now and is pretty foggy on all that studying?
Bob, W0FBO, if you're still out there, would you care to answer that one?
I don't know if I want to or not. We have talked about it numerous times. We're sort of in the habit of teaching classes in 1.5 Saturdays, and that's already hitting this material pretty hard. To teach an extra class would require lots and lots of Saturdays. I think the logistics kind of get in the way. It's not trivial. I understand some of the clubs around us do offer them, but they're very long courses. We could certainly entertain it. How many people we're going to get and how much work they're willing to put into it is hard to say. I've got the 2-inch thick extra license manual, and I keep it in the bathroom, and I read a little bit every day, and it impresses me at how close that stuff looks to a basic engineering and electronics course.
That may not answer your question why I pushed Bob. That Bob is our Chief Education Officer for NCARC, so he handles all this stuff. I set him up, but he knocks them down, so he's the main guy that actually has to teach this. So it's not that we're trying to avoid it. We just don't have a way that we know that we can do it in a good timeline, I guess you could say. Did that answer your question? I hope not, or I hope so.
Yeah, I figured it was a problem of it being just too long, too intense. I agree with his comment there he made earlier about looking through the book, and it looks like an engineering degree. I've kind of thumbed through that myself, and that's why I thought maybe a class option might be a little bit better since it's been so long. It's been several years now since I took my general, and so it's like learning all this stuff all over again.
Go ahead, Bob.
One idea we've kicked around from time to time is to have students select the topics that are the worst. What material is it that you'd like to see explained, and perhaps we can turn it into a class or a Zoom session or who knows what. Teaching the entire contents of the book is just probably not on the table, but somebody could say, I have a problem with Smith charts, or I have a problem with resonance or solid-state devices, and name the topic. And we could probably spend some time on it. I'm not sure what kind of format, but I don't know. Joe, what do you think? We've talked about it a bunch of times.
Well, let me give you a little history, not Bob because he was there, but the rest of you who are interested in this. We were a little gun-shy about doing the general class because we weren't sure that we could get that much material down. And I changed up the format this last time to say the first week is going to be the technical side, and then the next week will be not so bad. And I don't know if that's working or not. Let this drop for a minute. But at the end of the class this last weekend, I asked everybody, did I do something wrong? Because don't blame the instructor, blame me for this. And they all thought it was a good idea, so I guess that was okay. But we were there till a little after 5, and it's not the instructor's fault. There was questions asked, and a lot of things went on. It's just really tough material. Now, if we were going to go into the extra class, that's the way it would be all the time. So I don't know. The only thing I can say is we will review it, and when I say review it, we really will do that, and come out with something in the next month or 2, maybe 3 months. It takes some time to figure out how to pull these things off.
Well, thank you for the input. I just thought it would be a fun topic to throw out there, since you're just on the general class stuff. So. Thanks a lot for the conversation on it, K0LTM.
I think if we were going to do it, I think we would probably go back to what Bob mentioned earlier, and that's do a topic-type situation and have a Zoom or in-person meeting where you would come in and you would ask questions about certain things, and we wouldn't go through the whole thing because there's too much. I know that Longmont does them. I think it's 6 to 8 weeks. I think it's even 1 or 2, maybe 2 nights a week in someplace down there. But and I know the people that are doing that, they'll do a great job too. So it's not something that they're really intricate on how they do things. So if you're interested in that, I can set you up with that.
Well, and I can look into Longmont myself. I just thought it would. As I said before, since you had brought up the general class, I thought it would be just an interesting topic to push it forward to the extra. Absolutely.
I really like doing these classes, not necessarily because it's time-consuming, I guess you could say, and there's a lot of technical stuff goes on, but to work with the people that are really getting into the hobby and stuff like that. I remember if it wouldn't have been for Bob, our CEO here, I probably wouldn't have went as far as I did because he was kind of my mentor, even though he may not know it. I asked him a lot of questions at a Hamfest, and he gave me the right answers. So it's really interesting that we can pass on our knowledge, and our classes are all free. They always have been and always will be. Okay, any other comments, questions for this evening?
Check in.
And who are we checking in?
WB5TEX, Whiskey Bravo 5, Tango Echo X-Ray, Day 11, listening for about 15. You might, if there's interest, you might send out a survey and just have someone reply back and just put in your survey the topics and then just take a poll like that just in a return email.
That's an excellent idea. I had never thought of that. I'm not the brightest bulb in the tree for sure. So I thank you for that. I've got a conference I got to go to for the rest of this week, but I will do that next week. That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking, and that way you could just knock out maybe the 1 or 2 highest ones that are offenders. I know for me it was schematics and knowing what transistors and stuff like that, getting reacquainted.
In so long, I don't even remember what's on it, to be honest with you. And we don't test it, so, well, I guess we do test it, but I guess I've never really looked at the test. That's a good idea. I'll go ahead and do that. Any other comments, questions for the net? Please call.
K0HAK with a late check-in. Kilo 0, Hotel Alpha Kilo. Dave in Fort Collins.
Hey, Dave, you got anything for us tonight?
I don't know. We got this whole thing with MFJ. They're going out of business. And I didn't know if anybody had any thoughts on, if they could just buy one thing from MFJ before they go away, before they close their doors, what would that one thing be?
That's an interesting topic. Okay. Who wants to start?
WWL.
Him?
I have actually already placed an order for 2 MFJ 939 tuners. I use them in the mobile, and they've just been awesome. I've had 3 over the years, and only one's ever had a problem. So ordered a couple more while I still can.
Thank you. Who wants to be next? I can't. Anyone else?
What was the model number on that, Tim? 9392. I got the 9392, but what is it? K0MLT.
939, and then there's a sub-model, Y for Yaesu and I for ICOM, etc. But they're all the same base tuner, and you can change what it's configured for with dip switches inside if you're wanting to convert a Yaesu model into an ICOM model and vice versa. But MFJ 939.
Oh, copy. Thanks.
Is that a manual tuner or automatic?
Oh, automatic. I'm not running a manual tuner going down the road.
I don't do one at home either. So there's that. Anyone else got anything, MFJ, they ought to buy?
Me.
Go ahead, Dick.
Well, you're limiting me to one thing. That's the hard thing, because I guess the biggest thing is I always like to play around with various type of non-resonant antennas. They just make such a wide range of really small, compact tuners that I'd maybe pick up some of those. I guess that would be my priority.
Interesting. Anybody else? I think if it was me, they've got one thing that I kind of like, and I'd like to try it, but I don't know whether I want to buy it, and that's a CW decoder. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard, well, yeah, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'd like to try that, except maybe the price will go down. They want a couple $100 for it, and I wouldn't pay a couple $100 for it. So, anyone else? Well, I guess this will wrap it up. I thank everybody for joining us. We had about 20 people show up today, and the net lasted around 45 minutes. I'd like to, one more time, thank everybody, and we'll be back again next Monday night. I'm not sure who's on, but they'll start at 6 o'clock, and with that, the repeater's open for general use. Everybody have a great, great week.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Through the static